Liz Truss told MPs that such a move would come at a severe cost to Moscow. So I'm joined by Alan Mendoza. He's a co-founder and executive director of the Henry Jackson Society, a transatlantic foreign policy and national security think tank. So Alan, can you so a lot of people might be slightly confused by exactly what's going on. So can you, summarise it for us in just a couple of minutes, just to explain what exactly is happening?
Well, very simply, Vladimir Putin has amassed over 100,000 troops on Russia's western and southern borders at the Ukrainian border. And the suspicion is that he is seeking to invade Ukraine. We don't know whether he is or isn't, but the troop build-up is sufficient to be an invasion force. And as you'll remember, he's been in Ukraine, in Crimea and eastern Ukraine, essentially for the last 6-7 years. Anyway, the feeling is now there's a lot of saber rattling going on, a lot of demands from Mr. Putin. And the question is, what is he intending to do here? And I think the Foreign Secretary and the US Secretary of State and the US President have been quite concerned about this build-up, and we want answers from Mr. Putin about what he's actually playing at.
What do you think, if you're to be sort of having a guess at what he's doing? What is he doing?
Well, the thing with Putin is there are several options always. Now, option number one is he just wants a victory of some kind. Now, what does that mean? He is saying to everyone, NATO is trying to, kind of take over Ukraine. I want you to promise you will never admit Ukraine into NATO. Now, NATO isn't looking to take over Ukraine, and there are no plans right now for Ukraine to be in NATO. So somehow there is a statement that happens and he gets a victory. It could, of course, be that he actually does want to invade Ukraine. I mean, he is annoyed with the direction of travel in Ukraine. He's also particularly annoyed about the eastern provinces not having been reintegrated back into Ukraine under a structure which gives him essential power within the Ukrainian system. So that could be something he's after as well, that sort of approach. And finally, all of this is bound up into gas politics as well. Don't forget, Russia has the gas monopoly into Europe, and he may be seeking to kind of saber rattle at Europe as well, to say, I've got my kind of foot on your neck, basically, when it comes to gas supply. I want a victory, or else I'm going to punish you another way. And there's also linked to the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which he's been trying to get approved in Germany, which the Germans have been a bit skittish about. So there are lots of potential things he could be after. As always with Putin, trying to deduce which one of them it is an imprecise science.
But maybe he could be doing a sort of Boris Johnson distraction tactic, where he's actually doing something completely different, but you've got your eye on the ball of Ukraine. Because why do we actually care? How does this impact us here in the UK?
Well, it impacts on 2 or 3 different levels. Firstly, if there is a conflict in Ukraine, then because we have been signing agreements with the Ukrainian government, and essentially Ukraine is a democratic ally of ours, although we're not going to be dragged into a shooting war, there would definitely be a need for us to respond in some way, shape or form. We can't allow aggression of that kind against democratic states and do nothing about it. So we are going to be dragged in should he invade. Even if he doesn't invade, though, if he tries to get Nord Stream 2 through, that gives him more power in gas politics. Now, although we don't have much of our gas supply coming from Russia, if the Europeans are beholden to him, that gives him tremendous strategic power. And,
But why do we care? I mean, that's them. We're doing our own thing.
Alas, we are still tied to Europe by geography, if nothing more.
Of course,
so, for example, the Russians constantly buzz our airspace and also invade our sea space with their submarines. Now, that's got nothing to do, essentially, with continental Europe, but we are tied into the same boat as them.
What is that? So sort of an act of passive aggression to sort of be in someone's space when you're really not supposed to be there. Is that what that is?
Correct. It's showing his power, showing that I am more powerful than you, and I intend to, you go against me at your peril. Now, the reality is we don't want Putin to be, kind of riding roughshod across all of Europe, because that brings him closer to us in that regard as well. And he's shown his willingness to interfere in all sorts of things in the UK. Remember, he's ordered murders in the UK. He has, of course, attempted to influence politics in various ways. He is a constant meddler in our, kind of daily lives, and we don't want that to continue. So as a result, we want to ensure that Putin is put back into his box as much as possible. And to go, this is none of our business, isn't reflective of the reality that he's made it our business already over the past few years.
Do you not think that we could be in actually putting our hand into a hornet's nest ultimately? Because this, to me, sounds like a sort of a tactic of distraction and intimidation, passive aggression, to try and get us to react in a way that will justify any further actions that the other side make. Well, what would happen if we did nothing?
Well, if we did nothing and he invaded Ukraine and then took over Ukraine, then you would see Russia's borders move closer to our NATO allies.
But wasn't it part of the USSR anyway before this? When it broke up, when the Soviet Union broke up, was Ukraine? No, but I'm just asking. No, but I'm just asking though as a question. I mean, I don't know whether it's good or bad.
The history of it, of course, is that in 1991 the Soviet Union breaks up, and that includes, of course, countries like Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia that are now, of course, in the EU. Ukraine also broke free. Kazakhstan, where we've seen all the news in the last few days, another country that sort of broke free of the Soviet Union. So all these countries were indeed part of the Soviet Union, but that doesn't in any way, shape or form mean that we should allow them to go back into a greater Russia. On the contrary, to do so would be firstly to negate whatever's been happening there for the last 20 years, but secondly, it brings NATO allies into the direct line of fire, and that's where it does become a British issue, because we are part of NATO. It is an alliance we've always felt strongly about, and we need to defend it.